Once upon a time, there lived a farmer, his wife and their 3 children. They lived on a lovely farm with plenty of space to plant lots of delicious food. One day the farmer wanted to plant a turnip. He only had 1 turnip seed, so they would only get 1 turnip. But everyone in the family wanted to help. So they all gathered around a nice little spot, and the farmer dug a tiny little hole. The farmer's wife took the seed and planted it. The farmer's son covered over the dirt, and his middle daughter watered it. Now, little brother wanted to help, and he said, "What can I do to help?" But everybody else told him, "You're too small. There's nothing you can do to help. Just keep out of the way." So the farmer and his wife and brother and sister went inside. But little brother still wanted to help. He looked at the seed. How can I help? Then he had an idea. He decided to sing a song to the seed. So he did. He was only little and he didn't know many songs. So he sang Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. And every day he came out and sang to that little seed. Some days his brother and sister watered the seed and pulled out the weeds, but every single day little brother came out and sang his song. And eventually the turnip started to grow. It grew and 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 it grew until it was enormous, and it was time to be picked. So the family all gathered around the turnip. They were very excited. They would get to have something turnipy for their dinner. What would it be? Turnip soup or turnip stew? Nobody was sure. But the farmer grabbed onto the leaves of the turnip and he began to pull. He pulled and he pulled, but he had no luck. That tricky turnip was quite stuck. He was going to need some help. So his wife put her arms around him and the farmer grabbed hold of the turnip and they pulled and they pulled, but they had no luck. That tricky turnip was quite stuck. So then brother said he'd help. So he held on to his mum and his mum held on to the farmer, and together they pulled and they pulled, but they had no luck. That tricky turnip was quite stuck. So then sister helped them. She held on to her brother, who held on to their mum, who held on to the farmer, and together they pulled and they pulled, but they had no luck. That tricky turnip was quite stuck. Then little brother said, "I want to help. Can I help to pull up the turnip?" "Oh no," said his family, "you're too small. Just keep out of the way." "But I want to help," said little brother. So he ran over and held on to his sister, who held on to their brother, who held on to their mother, who held on to the farmer, and together they pulled and they pulled and they pulled and they pulled, and soon they found that tricky turnip popped up from underground. They were all so happy. They had worked together to pull the enormous turnip up out of the ground. And now they had such a huge turnip that they didn't have to decide whether they would have turnip soup or turnip stew for dinner. They could have it all. They had turnip soup and turnip stew and mashed turnip and turnip cake for dessert. And everyone said it was the most delicious turnip they had ever tasted.